Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, Position Yourself for Promotion with career coach and author, Octavia Goradima. My name is Joseph Blancas, and I serve as an assistant director for the Alumni Career Engagement team with UCLA Alumni Affairs. In today's program, you will learn how to create a successful strategy to position yourself for a promotion so that you can take the next step in your career. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank our Alumni Association sustaining donors. It's with your help that we are able to strengthen the Bruin community with career programs like this. Now, to start our program, I'm excited to introduce Octavia Goradima. Octavia is the author of Prep, Push, Pivot, Essential Career Strategies for Underrepresented Women. As the founder of 2010 Agency, Octavia has coached leaders at renowned companies including Google, American Airlines, Tinder, General Motors, Nike, and Dow Jones. An acclaimed career expert, Octavia's insights have been featured in the Los Angeles Times, Yahoo, and Black Enterprise, among many others. Now, I'll turn it over to Octavia to start our program.
Oh, thank you so much,
Of course, thank you.
for the warm welcome. So thrilled to be here with you all. Wonderful. So my name's Octavia Goradima, and today I'm going to be sharing insights from my book, Prep, Push, Pivot, and my work as a career coach to help you successfully position yourself for a promotion. So you want a promotion. Are you preparing to make the ask? Or maybe you're nervous about how to deal with potential pushback. I know that asking for a promotion is often scary, but if you're ready to take that next step in your career, working hard and waiting for your boss to notice isn't enough. This workshop is going to show you how to lay the groundwork for a promotion and how to ask for the role you want. So in chapter 4 of my book, Prep, Push, Pivot, I explain what I call a promotion push strategy. And today I'm going to discuss 5 key stages in that promotion push strategy with you. They are how to create your career growth plan, how to lay solid foundations to set you up for success, how to prepare for the ask, how to practice the ask, and finally, how to make the ask for a promotion and prepare for potential pushback. So the first stage is to create your career growth plan. And understanding what your target role requires lays the foundation for everything. If you want to be considered for a promotion, you need to be ready to demonstrate where your skills and experience align. So, creating a career growth plan will enable you to map out your next steps and take actions that will propel you forward. Now, this plan is for your personal use. As a first step, of course, you will research the requirements for the role you're targeting and then create a plan that will show that you can deliver. Now, this will include the accomplishments, skills, and attributes that you need to demonstrate for your next role. And your plan will have the next steps that you're going to take to get there. Now, feedback you receive from your manager, either while you're doing your work or in performance reviews, is essential. But your career growth plan will extend even further because it's going to become the blueprint for your future. So when you're targeting a promotion, review relevant job descriptions and align your skills. Take time to consider the strengths and the personal traits that you have that support you and the weaknesses and maybe some of the tendencies that you might have that sometimes make you less effective, and consider how you can address those. Be as objective as you can. Consider feedback that you might have received in performance reviews or from others at various moments during your career, and get real about your strengths and your weaknesses. You'll then use those insights you've reflected on to create an action-oriented plan. And to do that, first of all, pick an area or skill that you want to develop that supports your promotion goal. And then consider what could be an obstacle to achieving this skill or developing in that area. And then brainstorm ideas of how you might solve that. Okay, let's say, for example, if one of the skills that you need to demonstrate is delivering presentations with confidence at team meetings, think about what are some of the obstacles that might get in the way of you doing that. For example, if it was nerves, maybe one solution that you could brainstorm and put in your career growth plan is to find opportunities to present to smaller groups so that you can start to practice and build confidence. Maybe you're not so familiar with all of the tech that you've seen other leaders use. Well, maybe one solution could be scheduling time, either with IT to walk through tech tools or to acquire some new skills that you didn't have before. Whatever you identify, look at every component on your career growth plan and assign each item with a next step. And when you've taken that step, go back to your plan, look at the next item, and choose the next step you'll take. Always ask yourself, what will I commit to doing next? And as you're trying to brainstorm how to push through some of the things you need to acquire or demonstrate, consider not just what you need to learn, but also what tools or resources might be available for you to do that. Identify whether your employer offers in-house training. You might be surprised to learn that there are resources that are readily available for you to use. And if your employer doesn't offer the training you need, you may want to offer to invest in your professional development. It's always advantageous to discuss your goal with others to find out where there might be support for what you want to do next. And outside of your company, explore what your industry associations may have to offer. It's likely they'll have a range of events or courses or training resources you can leverage. You're here today because your alumni network has resources that you've been able to tap into. So continue to explore and talk to your network for recommendations too. Be proactive and show that you're ready to step up. Keep setting goals for your professional development and stay focused on achieving them. Now, when you understand what success looks like based on the role that you're targeting, you can be productive, add value, and deliver results. You need to demonstrate that you're ready to level up. Think about how you show up for work, how you show up for meetings, whether it's on the phone and video or in person. Think about what you want to convey. Pay attention to your body language. Your physical cues are just as important as your verbal ones. Continue to be consistently professional and positive as you do your work and in your day-to-day interactions. This builds trust in your abilities and your personal attributes. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. Do what you say you'll do. Be on time, meet deadlines, exceed expectations. When you lead by example consistently, people notice. Leverage the unique skills you bring as you're continuing to work on your career growth plan and play to your strengths. Be a good listener, embrace feedback, use it to your advantage, and it will all help you move ahead. And even if you make a mistake along the way, that's okay. You can move forward by learning from it. If you consistently and successfully solve problems for your manager, you will stand out. Now, early in my career, I learned an important lesson. Without realizing, I had a tendency to point out why something wouldn't work. And during one of my observations, my manager turned to me and said, Octavia, don't come to me with the problem, come to me with the solution. And in that moment, a light bulb went off for me. I thought I was being helpful by pointing out all the hurdles, but I was wrong. What I needed to do was identify potential problems and present ideas for how we could avoid them. Now, step 2 is to lay solid foundations for your promotion. And an essential part of this is understanding the decision-making process. Now, depending on the size of your organization, the decision-making process for promotions can vary substantially. Ask your manager or HR leader for guidance if you're unclear on any of the steps. Now, here are some questions I want you to ask yourself. And if you don't know the answers, it will identify the areas that you need to clarify. What is the criteria for a promotion? Is the promotion process documented? When does the next performance review cycle begin? Does your company provide professional development resources for individuals who are targeting a promotion? How does leadership measure success? And who are those decision makers? Is there a business case for your promotion? How would your promotion affect the broader team or organization? And is your manager an advocate for your advancement? After you've completed this self-assessment, identify the areas where you need to dig a little deeper and identify the next steps you need to take. These could include scheduling a one-on-one meeting with your manager or other senior leaders. If you have a mentor at your company, it could be asking them for insights or guidance. Alternatively, if there are people at your company who were recently promoted, they might be happy to share how they navigated the process. If you want to be promoted, it's important to be proactive by laying the foundations as early as possible. Your company is likely to have a certain time frame during the fiscal year when these opportunities are considered. Now, some companies have very set parameters for promotions in terms of skills and qualifications and experience. So it's pivotal to understand what those parameters are and to create your promotion timeline in your career growth plan to align with those requirements. But on top of those things, there are contingent factors that will impact how leadership at your company address promotion opportunities. These can include business cycles, the restructuring of teams due to reorgs or mergers or layoffs or resignations. All of these things will impact career opportunities. So your performance is pivotal, but it's also critical to understand the broader business context. So be aware of what's required to take the next step in terms of attributes, skills, and achievements, but also understand the bigger picture needs of your team, department, and organization. And when it comes to what you can control, you need to start a regular dialogue with your manager using your performance review conversations as a foundation. Working hard and waiting for your boss to notice will not guarantee a promotion. Plant that seed early. Your manager needs to know your goals, and you also need to understand what your manager's goals are for the team and how you can add value. Promotions can take a long time to manifest. So with that in mind, be ready to play the long game, build trust with your boss so that when you make the formal ask, it won't be a complete surprise. Now, being visible matters, and there are two components to this. First of all, you want to make sure your work and your accomplishments are visible to your manager. That's essential. Do you have a regular meeting on the calendar? Don't wait until your annual performance review to share your accomplishments. Share your wins on a regular basis and use your one-on-one meetings with your manager to your advantage. Then when you have that base covered, you need to consider additional individuals, teams, or leaders at your company that you need to connect with to enhance your visibility. I want you to consider What do you want to be known for within your company? What do you need to start doing more of? Who are the decision makers who are pivotal to your advancement? Who are people at your company that could open doors for you or advocate for you? Are there groups, programs, or committees that you could join to broaden your internal networks? Are there opportunities to raise awareness of your work or build relationships with decision makers? And when you've reflected on all of these questions, what will you commit to doing next? If you are clear on your intentions, you will be open to opportunities as and when they appear. Do what you can to consistently demonstrate your enthusiasm and ability to do the promoted role even before it's yours. Now, aligning with advocates is key to this process. If you want to advance, cultivating relationships with people in leadership roles is crucial. Now, ideally, your manager should be one of your biggest advocates, but sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes it is the case. Now, if your performance review feedback is consistently positive, but your manager is not an advocate for you or your work, you've got two options. Either you give up and stop aiming for that promotion, or you keep aiming high regardless. Continue to set new goals, demonstrate your skills, attributes, and accomplishments. You can't control your manager's actions. However, you can control how you show up for work, what you deliver, and what you choose to do next. And cultivating broader networks of advocates will help you advance faster. Now, to do this, create a wish list of potential advocates. Ideally, this will include people who are already aware of your skills and attributes. Then identify opportunities to reinforce your accomplishments and your leadership skills. Be clear with these individuals about your professional goals and start a dialogue by asking them for their feedback. Remember, relationships don't happen overnight. They take time to develop. And someone on your wish list may not be receptive or may not be in a position to advocate for you. That's okay, but raise your hand anyway. And then a potential advocate has the option to choose to support you. Ask for their advice. Listen to their insights. At the very least, feedback is always valuable. Keep on having conversations and keep identifying opportunities to cultivate your networks while finding avenues to shine. And if you don't have the support of an advocate within your company, the opportunities to advance might be limited, but continue to cement your reputation by continuing to do great work, because sometimes you don't know when people are advocating for you. And if you consistently do great work, people around you will notice. Now, a person who advocates for you is often known as a sponsor, and that person may also be a mentor. Now, I know mentors aren't always easy to find. Sometimes mentoring is intentional, where your organization might endeavor to pair mentors with mentees, but often it happens by chance when a relationship develops organically over time. Now, if your company doesn't provide a formal mentoring program, try to find opportunities to talk to people in the role you want, whether that's inside or outside your company, to learn how they got there. Introductions and first conversations might spark a longer-term mentoring relationship, even if it's an informal one. Now, the role of a mentor and a sponsor can overlap, and the table on this slide shows how to differentiate between the two. You can't control if a mentor or your manager or a senior leader will become an advocate for you, but when it happens, it's powerful. A mentor will share their insights on how they've navigated career milestones and challenges. A sponsor will amplify your work to decision makers. A mentor might provide advice or share their own perspectives on how they achieved their promotions. A sponsor will open doors by presenting new opportunities and connections for you. A mentor might answer your questions about career choices and strategies. A sponsor will use their influence to aid your advancement. A mentor will react to your questions. A sponsor will be proactive in acting on your behalf and propelling you forwards. Now, remember, it's important to always be an advocate for yourself. Track your accomplishments on a regular basis and be ready to talk about your skills and your achievements with confidence. Now, step 3 in a promotion push strategy is to prepare for the ask. Now, the first part of this is to research salary brackets. Now, when you're yearning for a promotion, often just the thought of landing that new title is a win in itself. But remember, a new title means new responsibilities, and new responsibilities means more money. Now, my advice is to wait to discuss salary until you've been offered a new role. But it's important to be prepared. Don't skip over researching salaries. You should approach the salary research for your targeted promotion in the same way you would research salaries for a new role at a new company. And that means preparing a set of numbers in advance of a promotion conversation. The goal is to land the promotion first and then finalize your compensation package when your new role and responsibilities have been decided. Now, unless you work at a company or organization that has salary transparency, it can be hard to research internal salary brackets. In addition, often people aren't comfortable sharing what they earn, but don't let that derail you. You can leverage salary surveys within your industry that are collated and published by professional associations. Recruiters who specialize in your sector often do their own really detailed research too. So check those resources, and you can pull numbers from external salary resources like PayScale and LinkedIn and Glassdoor. Landing on a salary range is important when the time comes, because it conveys to your employer that you're open to negotiation, and providing a range gives space and consideration for contingent factors that will affect your employer's compensation parameters. And in advance of any conversation, always consider what your career priorities are before you start negotiating, and determine where salary aligns within those priorities. For example, in addition to a new title, there might be roles and responsibilities that might be part of a negotiation, or additional benefits, or location, or stock options if your company offers those. There can be so many components in addition to salary that you will want to consider. Now, the pivotal piece to prepare are your promotion proof points. Before you ask for a promotion, you need to build a case and be ready to share it. And to get started, I want you to review your accomplishments and create a list. This list will be your promotion proof points, and they convey what you've achieved. I want you to quantify the results, and I want you to emphasize the benefits of those results to your company or your team. Using data to back up your achievements is powerful, because metrics demonstrate the value of your contribution to your company. Now, each promotion proof point should contain these components: your accomplishment, the results, and the benefits and the value. Prepare as many promotion proof points as you can, and then put them in order of importance. I want you to start with the strongest. If you need to keep the conversation going when the time comes, then you'll have additional proof points as examples to expand on if you need them. Now, to create a set of promotion proof points, you need to track your accomplishments on a regular basis. I always recommend to my coaching clients to do this at the end of each month. Set a calendar reminder, write down key actions and wins and what the results were. Commit to creating a career accomplishments master file that you keep updating every month. Now, in addition to sharing the results and benefits of your accomplishments, you should also prepare a promotion proof point that looks ahead. Understand the skills that are required of the role you're targeting, and consider objectives that are important to your team or department or broader organization, and be ready to emphasize how you are prepared to deliver future results in that elevated role. Now, it's important to make the business case, not just the personal case, for your promotion. And you do that using your promotion proof points. Deciding which one to lead with allows you to highlight the value your work adds to your organization. Then you can also emphasize how your personal attributes will enable you to continue to deliver in the promoted role. Making a business case matters, and personal factors such as your own financial needs, or maybe just the fact you're tired of waiting to take that next step, should not be part of your promotion conversation with your manager. Keep the conversation focused on the business case. Don't compare yourself to others. Your personal finances or your own professional timeline will not be your boss's primary concern. The business case will be your boss's primary concern. And then step 4 is to practice the ask. So you've done the work, you've created and are working on your career growth plan, you've prepped your promotion proof points, you've researched and crunched your numbers so you have a salary range ready if needed. Now it's time to practice making the ask. When you do that, start the conversation with a compliment. Convey what you love about your role. Share your promotion proof point and make your ask. Reiterate what excites you about the opportunity to advance at your company. Now, the best thing you can do is practice, practice, practice. Not just once, not just in your head. Say the words out loud. Ideally, say them to someone else too, many, many times. Now, this may seem weird or awkward, but hear me out. It matters. Asking for a promotion is unlikely to be top of your conversation topics day in, day out. It isn't a conversation you'll have many times in your career, but it really matters. And yes, it's going to feel awkward at first. Yes, you're likely to be nervous. Yes, the stakes will feel high. Yes, asking for something is hard. That's why practicing will make a real difference. So here's how to do it. My first piece of advice is to record yourself. Put your phone or laptop camera to good use and record yourself making the ask. Saying the words out loud cements them. In addition, watching a recording of yourself allows you to observe your body language and make adjustments if you need to. Now, if you can, after you've reviewed your recordings, ask someone you trust to role play the conversation with you. This will allow you to get comfortable with making the ask and how to respond to questions. Now, the next thing to prepare is how you would respond to potential pushback. In advance of your promotion conversation, consider the alternate ways your manager may react and plan and prepare your response. Now, in essence, there are 3 possible outcomes. The first is that your manager supports your request for a promotion. The second option is that your manager is non-committal. And the third is that your manager turns down your request. Now, if your manager is supportive of your ask, that's fantastic. You can prepare to use the rest of the conversation to learn more about next steps. Now, if your manager is non-committal, I want you to prepare some open-ended questions that you could use to gather insights or feedback. And I also want you to be ready to listen carefully to the responses. So for example, if your manager says, I can't make any promises right now, or I've got a lot to consider before I can discuss future opportunities, your response could be, that's helpful to know. When would be the best time to revisit the conversation? Or, thank you for the guidance. Could you share some insights on the promotion process and considerations? Now, if your manager turns down your request for a promotion, take a deep breath. It will be hard to hear, but where possible, I want you to put your emotions to one side until the conversation has ended and you have time to process everything. So in advance of a conversation, I want you to prepare what you would say if your manager said, we're not considering promotions at this time, or you're not ready to make that transition yet. Now, if you hear statements along those lines, prepare what your responses could be. One example could be, I'd really value your insights and advice. Can you guide me on the skills or experience I'd need to make the next step in my career? Or, thank you for the feedback. From your opinion, what does the promotion process look like? And do you have some actionable advice for me? If you take time to think in advance how you would respond to pushback, you will be prepared for every possible scenario. Now, the most important step of all is making the ask. As a final step, schedule a meeting with your manager. Let them know in advance that you would like to discuss your performance. Now, I encourage you, wherever possible, to make the ask for a promotion in a meeting versus in an email. Having a dialogue is essential, and meeting in person or even over video allows you to present your case more effectively. In addition, you'll be able to assess the response when you see the other person's body language, as well as hearing how they frame their words. Now, start with the promotion request and then only progress to discussing salary when you know that the role is yours. Use your prepared and practiced pitch. Remember to smile. Be mindful of your body language, speak clearly and concisely, emphasize why you're excited to continue your professional journey at your company, and then stop talking. Wait for the response. Stay calm, be positive, and be professional during the ask, regardless of what you hear in response. The other thing I want you to keep front of mind is that you may have to be patient. Promotions take time, and they often can involve multiple conversations. Depending on your organizational structure, your manager may need to make their case for your promotion to their boss as a next step. Don't be disheartened if your manager needs time to reflect or review and discuss with others. Throughout the process, take time to listen and absorb all the feedback you receive from your manager. Your manager's perspective is pivotal in the moment, but you ultimately control your career, the opportunities you seek, and how you navigate toward your next big step. Now, promotion conversations can feel petrifying because I know there's so much at stake. I get it. But I want you to continue to pursue what you want relentlessly. Focus on what you can control, your next steps, versus thinking too much about the array of possible outcomes. So, in summary, I want you to create your career growth plan, align every component with an actionable next step that you'll commit to, lay the foundations by making sure to align with advocates, to communicate your goals to decision makers, and to get feedback along the way. I want you to prepare for the ask. I want you to practice your promotion proof points and practice your responses to any potential pushback. And then make the ask. Convey your ask with confidence, and then stop talking and be prepared to listen and respond to the feedback. These are the 5 key steps to help you move forward. And to support that, there were 3 things I want you to remember. Be visible. Make sure you and your work are visible to decision makers, and make sure you understand the decision-making process for your promotion. Align with advocates. Do your due diligence by understanding your employer's promotion process and cycles. Communicate your goals with confidence. Track your accomplishments and be prepared to advocate for your achievements and what you want to do next. And I don't want you to be afraid to ask. Keep asking for what you want to do next. Prepare to ask for the role you want by assembling your accomplishments, creating your promotion proof points, and practicing the promotion conversation. Be prepared for pushback and be prepared to negotiate. It may not come easy. You may be supported. You might be doubted. You may be recognized. You may be disappointed. You may need to be patient. Keep pushing regardless. Hold on to what you're building towards and don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Prep for it, ask for it, don't give up, and keep setting goals. And as you keep working on your career growth plan, always consider, what will I commit to doing next? So thank you so much for joining this workshop today. I wanted to share some of the ways that you can connect with me. And the promotion push strategy that I shared today is discussed in more detail in my book, Prep, Push, Pivot. If you wanted to get your own copy, you can use the QR code that's on the bottom left corner of this screen. And I'm going to hand back to Joseph so we can start to answer your questions. But if you have more questions after this session ends, please don't hesitate to reach out. If you're in this session today, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to know that you were here, and you can also connect with me on these other platforms as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Octavia, for all the information. I know that was a lot to share. So again, if anyone has any questions, needs some more clarity, feel free to throw a question into the Q&A function. But as of now, we have a handful. So Octavia, the first one I have for you is, would you happen to have a suggestion if I feel like I have a much larger workload compared to my coworkers, increased responsibilities, but feel underpaid since I am paid the same as coworkers, but have 25% more workload?
Yes. So the first thing is to perhaps analyze why you have been given those extra responsibilities. Is it because you are on track for a promotion and you and your manager have had that conversation and you were starting to be given responsibilities to align with that role? Have there been changes to your team structure or to your team or your manager's responsibilities? Um, Identify what the driving factors are and identify if those extra responsibilities align with the next steps that you want to take and also cement with what you want in your role. And have a conversation with your manager. Have a conversation about what you want to do next. Get their feedback on what opportunities they see and how those responsibilities align with a next step up, whether that's in terms of a salary increase or an actual title change. Be really clear about what you want to build towards, and then you'll be able to understand if where you're at now is a stepping stone towards what you want. But I think having a dialogue is really, really important. And if you're excelling at what you do, chances are that's probably why you are a bit trusted and you're maybe a pivotal member of that team. So maybe see what opportunities there are within what you have and what you want to do more of. And if there are things that you want to let go of, have you discussed those with your manager too? And is there a transition plan maybe for you to continue your growth and how other people can grow too by perhaps taking on additional responsibilities? Would you be able to support those individuals as they perhaps learn what's required? Identify where the opportunities could lie and where the silver lining could be. I do recognize it can often feel as frustrating if you feel like you are doing more than what you're compensated for. But perhaps look at your career growth plan and see, does this align with what I want or doesn't it? And then see where you can make shifts that are positive shifts that will help you move forward and also help support your team with their broader goals.
Thank you for that. Hopefully that was helpful for the person who asked it. It was anonymous, so but great information, great insight, Octavia. The next question we have for you is from Lorraine Wong. Her question is, what if a position you are targeting isn't standard? For example, starting a new division within a company that isn't something many companies have.
Yes, that's a great question, Lorraine. And I often have coached individuals who are stepping into brand new opportunities that maybe didn't exist before, or roles that have been created very suddenly without any precedent. So this is where talking to people in broader networks, perhaps outside of your organization, can be really helpful, because even if the opportunity or role has a very unique remit or title, chances are there'll be other people that have perspective that might help shape your thoughts about the opportunity or what a job description could look like or represent for that opportunity. So I really encourage you to lean hard on your professional associations, outside of your company, people who are in your field and perhaps have a little bit more experience than you or have navigated similar transitions or changes, and get their perspectives. And also know sometimes when there's no precedent for an opportunity, that's the most exciting opportunity of all, because you might have an opportunity, if you're being considered for that role, to really shape what that role represents. I have coached individuals who've actually worked alongside their leadership to actually write their job descriptions. I previously in my career, before I became a coach, have been in that position myself, where I was in a role that had never existed before in my company and had the opportunity to do the same thing. So while it can be hard to perhaps figure out how you prepare for something that perhaps hasn't existed before, it's also an opportunity for you to help research and shape what that could be. And have as many conversations as you possibly can. And this workshop was centered on how to position yourself for a promotion, but I also recognize as a coach there is so much work that we have to continue to do once we achieve that promotion. And that's why I firmly believe your career growth plan is your blueprint for your future. It doesn't just start and stop with when you hear the yes and are handed that next opportunity. It stays with you, and you'll be constantly updating it and refining it. And you really need to think broadly when you're looking at your career growth plan, not just in terms of what you need to demonstrate, but what support do you need to be successful in the work that you do? Where are there gaps, perhaps in terms of your networks or perspectives or what you don't know, and really brainstorm what steps you might be able to take to help close those gaps or get information on those gaps or inform those gaps. So I'm really excited for you if you have that opportunity, and I wish you all the best with your next steps.
Thank you, Octavia. The next question we have is from an anonymous attendee. Their question is, if you are getting positive reviews consistently and feel you have been operating at the next level for some time, but are not being promoted due to budget, team, cohesion, or tenure concerns from upper management, do you feel it is best to stay and continue working towards new goals, challenges, and ultimately your promotion, or best to apply internally, externally for new roles already at the next level?
I've coached so many individuals in that exact same spot who have consistently demonstrated their accomplishments, are operating above their existing level, but there just are not the opportunities either for them to progress into, or the pipeline is full and they're having to wait until that next opportunity manifests. And that can be a really difficult position to be in. And so this is where you have to make your own decision about what your priorities are and what your timeline for your priorities are. If you can see that you are moving in the right direction, then you might decide it's worth the wait. And you also have to remember what I talked about, how business cycles can really impact opportunities. Sometimes you don't know if there's suddenly going to be, I don't know, a really profitable quarter that suddenly impacts that you need more people and that you need more, your organization needs more leaders or new people in new roles. That gives you an opportunity to advance. You also can't predict in terms of what changes there might be in terms of someone leaving a role and there suddenly being an opportunity to advance. So if you're prepared to wait, that can definitely be a benefit. But if you feel like you've waited and you've waited and you've waited and you really are ready to move on, there is no harm in exploring what other opportunities might be available to you. But I want you to be really clear in terms of what your priorities are, in terms of not just the title, but all of the things that matter. What is it you want to experience next in your career? What type of organization do you want to contribute to? How do you do your best work? What size team do you want to be a part of? Where do you want to be located? Consider all of these things and then look at how your current opportunity and potential next step at your current company aligns with anything else that you might consider, and be really intentional about what those next steps could be. And often relationships are a deal breaker. Look at the relationships in terms of, do you have advocates where you are? Are people giving you opportunities, even if you're not getting the promotion? Is your career growing? Is your career growth plan moving, at least in the direction you want it to, while you wait for that opportunity for you to step into? But be really clear on what you need and where you're at, and trust your gut. Really trust it. Trust your gut in terms of how it feels, and also be prepared to be patient, not just where you're at, but be prepared to be patient if you're looking for opportunities elsewhere. It can take a while for opportunities to align with what matters most for you. So just know that if you're intentional about what you want, it's not necessarily a race. You will get where you want to be.
A lot of things to consider,
Yes.
definitely. Another question we have for you is from an anonymous attendee. If someone is an independent contributor and is not super high up on the career ladder, how does one create visibility for themselves? And what are good tips for networking with people who are much more senior?
Yes, I think if you're really looking to grow, and depending how long you've been at your organization too, it's really important to try your hardest to cultivate mentor-focused conversations with the individuals, whether that person is formally your mentor or whether it's a one-off conversation where you can get perspective on what advice would you have for me to be more visible? Are there spaces or opportunities where I could join or contribute to or connect with? Brainstorm as many things of your own, but be open to recommendations and suggestions of others. And if you don't have those sorts of relationships with more senior professionals at your organization or in your industry, don't forget your peers. Often peer-to-peer support can be really priceless too, to bounce ideas and suggestions. If you're new at your organization, and I work with a lot of people who have started roles, during the pandemic and are trying to find their feet in not only, new roles, but also new cultures, and also maybe not being as visible because maybe they're hybrid working or working from home. And that can be a real challenge. So don't put too much pressure on yourself to fix everything at once. Think about what's one thing I could try. What is one conversation I could try and ignite? What is one space perhaps a meeting I've not attended before that could be a goal for me to be invited to or contribute to? Who is one person that I want to reach out to? What do I want to be known for? Think about incremental steps that you can take as you're building, because these things can take time. It's not always a switch. And if you have time with your manager, use that time also to say, I'd really value your advice or perspectives, and see what they have to share too. Often we're really focused on what tasks we have to deliver and what the next problems we have to solve and what's on our to-do list, but hold space to maybe think about what the bigger picture and what objectives they might have for you as you're looking ahead. And have as many conversations as you possibly can. It's not always possible to figure out everything we could explore on our own.
So the next question we have, again from an anonymous attendee, is if being unable to obtain a promotion despite consistently demonstrating accomplishments above and beyond to the point that is exceeding their desired timeline and not worth the wait, how do you
Yes.
resign and still end on good terms?
So sometimes there just isn't an opportunity that aligns with what you need and when you need it. And so if you found another opportunity that ticks all of those boxes, I think making sure that you continue to be as professional as you possibly can while you're in your current role, explaining how the role has contributed to the next step that you're looking to pursue, thanking, your manager and your team for the opportunities that you've had to grow is really important, because as you move further and further on in your career and you change jobs and you get promoted, often there are people that you've worked alongside in various levels of seniority that you cross paths with again. You never know where your career journey will take you. So I think keep any emotions that you might have felt to one side and remember that bigger picture. And remember 2, 3, 5 years from now, when you look back and as you're continuing to grow, you'll realize there were positives that you took from that experience. Even if you weren't able to progress in the way that you wanted to, it would have laid the foundations as a stepping stone for what you do next. You never know when paths will cross again. So just always have that objectivity and that perspective. And, I've worked with individuals who have taken next steps, and that next step perhaps didn't work out the way that they would have wanted it to. And so every step, you never know what it might entail and what that experience might be. And every journey is a learning one. So think about what you've learned about yourself from that process too, and what matters most to you. And congratulations also on identifying that you know what you want to do next and taking steps towards it, because that really matters. And sometimes the opportunities align where you're at, and sometimes you have to look more broadly. But having that intent, but that professionalism as you do that is really key.
Great. So we have a time for, I think, two more questions. And the remaining questions are kind of more surrounded around salary negotiation.
Yes.
So one attendee, anonymous as well, shared that the request for a salary increase was shut down. What would you do in that case if you knew that someone in a similar position has a higher salary than what you're being offered?
So the first thing is perhaps to understand, and hopefully, if your salary request was shut down, you'd have been given some context as to the reasons why. And is it a performance related reason? Is it a budget related reason? And when you had the conversation, were you able to back up your request with any broader data? You might not want to break anyone's confidentiality if you've learned something confidentially, but often you can back up and ask using some of the resources that I talked about in the workshop. There are often industry reports that are done by professional associations which provide pretty broad salary ranges and online tools that you can use. Have you shared that information as part of your conversation? Now, it could be the business case for that increase didn't align with your ask, but it's important for you to understand the reasons why and to listen and pay attention to what those reasons why, and also understand what opportunities there might be in the future to revisit that conversation too. If you feel that you have evidence that you're not being paid fairly, then you might want to get the perspective of experts outside of your company in terms of identifying what those next steps could be, based on the information that you have at your disposal. But I think having conversations is really, really powerful, and knowing what you're aiming for is really, really powerful. And if you cannot align what you need where you're at, it will give you the arsenal that you need to ask for and advocate for what you want in the future, and maybe with future employers too.
Great, thank you. And we're actually getting close on time. We only have 1 minute left. So if we weren't able to get to your questions today, feel free to connect with Octavia using any of the URLs that she provided. And join me in thanking Octavia for being here today. As a reminder, her book, Prep, Push, Pivot, Essential Career Strategies for Underrepresented Women, is available for purchase on Amazon. Again, thank you, Octavia, for being here. We truly appreciate it. Thank you, and go Bruins.